Hey, this is Matt, and in this tutorial I'm going to cover assignment 5. So the goal of this assignment is to create a slideshow, and you're going to create audio to go along with the slideshow. So in part 1 here, we're going to look at GarageBand, and even if you're going to use a PC, I would advise watching how to layer sounds here. And then you can apply this to Audacity and Movie Maker. But we're going to use GarageBand here. So the first thing to do is get into a blank GarageBand document. And it's really easy to create the slideshow here. All you have to do is drag and drop images into the arrange window, just like you can do with audio or loops. And you can use any slides from your collection, from your portfolio, or you can right-click images from the internet and create something that is creative. But if you do this, I would like you to at least tell a story. Don't just throw 10 random images in there and try to connect them with some audio. At least make it interesting. So once you have your collection of images, all you do is drag and drop them into the arrange window. So here, let's say I wanted to create a desert night. All I do is drag my JPEG in here, and it'll create a blob that looks a lot like a piece of audio. If you zoom out, you can see that I think it defaults to about 30 seconds. And you can drag the right and left margins and lengthen or shorten it and move it around just like a piece of audio. And I'm going to go to the beginning of the song here. And if you double click on this image, you can make your slide bigger. It's a little easier to see what's going on, as long as it doesn't get in the way. And then if you hit play, you'll see this image here, and I'll show you what happens at the end of the image. It disappears. So what you're going to do is arrange a bunch of images end to end here, and then layer some sounds on top. So once you have your image in place, you will probably want to take off the metronome here. That's what you heard clicking in the background. And the other thing is, in the transport, you'll probably want to view the time view. There's several views. There's one that shows the scale. There's one that shows a chord. There's the measure view that we used in the assignment 4. But here, select time. And this way it'll keep track up in the top exactly how long your project is. And it should be 1 minute. So now that you have your image in, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And you can use some sounds from the default sound library. And in the last project, we viewed the database here from the view of these 2 musical notes. If you click over here on, it looks like a book unfolded, you can view genres or instruments or moods. And if you click over here, it looks like a little microphone. You can look at all of your sound effects, your iLife sound effects. So there are a lot of cool ambience effects that are great for the slideshow project. In this case, it's a desert night. So you could select something like a forest evening. Not the exact sound we're looking for, but a lot of them you can cheat and make these work. So all you do is drag and drop a sound in here, and then we'll preview this. So we're off to a pretty good start. What else do you hear in here? Maybe coyotes. So I've gone to freesound.org, which I highly recommend doing for this project. And I've downloaded some desert sounds, some crickets, some coyotes. And let's check this out. Let's see. Here I have some coyotes. And I'm going to drag this in here. This is a gigantic audio file. You know how to cut this stuff up. So let's preview these 2 together. Okay, cool. So I have a desert night and some coyotes. And then let's say you can use your track automation, as you did in the last project, to control some things. You might want to automate your volumes and fade some of the sounds in or out. This can make a more believable and seamless experience. Now let's see, let's throw one more sound in here. You have to have 3 different sounds per slide. So I'm going to go back to my free sound and see what I downloaded here. Oh, I have some crickets. That'll be great. So just drag and drop the piece of audio into the range window. Now I've got 3 different sounds, and let's preview these together. Okay, cool. And then let's say we want to use some automation here. Maybe you could fade the crickets in and then fade your desert night out, so it sounds like maybe you're walking from one point to another. So I'm going to create a couple blips here and let's see what happens. So now I have my forest sound fade out as I fade my crickets in. And then double click your image if you want to make that bigger. So there you go, you're off to the races. That's basically how you layer each sound. I'm going to close this project and open this one that I have. So this one is called Shark, and I've downloaded some shark images from the internet here. Let's make it bigger. You can see the 3 images. So I've got a shark swimming up to a kayak. I have a shark taking a chomp out of something, and a shark smiling here. And this is sort of a condensed version of what you might be able to do for your slideshow. So let's make our image bigger here by double clicking, and I'm going to hit play. So this one I actually added some sound effects and music, and you feel free to do this. Notice that I actually have 6 or 7 different sounds on each slide. So I had some splash effects, some distant ocean, some seagulls in the background, and then I also had some scuba sounds. And most of these I actually pulled from the library that we have in class in the lab. And then for music, if you do want to get in and throw a little bit of music in here, you could use something from the loop library, but don't overdo it. This is more about creating the sound design and less about the music. But if you do want to get into MIDI land, I've created some software instrument tracks. If you want to create a new one, just go to the plus sign in the lower left corner and choose a software instrument. And then you can pick the sound in the library here. And I don't even remember exactly what I did. I have a grand piano, and then I have some synth called the Arena Run. And I'm just going to go ahead and get into the region here. So I sold the Arena Run track out, and I'm going to double click on it. And all I did is I painted some notes into the piano roll here. And you can paint by holding down Command, and you'll get this little pencil tool. And then these little blobs are individual notes, and you can drag them around just like pieces of audio and change the pitch. And this is a great way to do basic soundtrack stuff, is to have what they call a short motive. And this is a pitch class set. It's really just 3 notes. So I have a low note, and then I went up 2 semitones here for my other note, and I went up 3 semitones for my other note. And I'm not even really thinking about what key I'm in, but I just used this relationship, and then I copied and pasted it to other tracks. So once I had it, so a little motive that I liked, let's solo this out. Then you can do things like rubber band it and option drag it. And this stuff works great for horror soundtracks. And I just copied and pasted that onto other tracks and changed the sound. And all of the musical elements here are based on that one little cell of what they call a motive. It's just a really basic musical idea. And I wasn't even thinking about key or anything. But let's give it a listen here, and you can hear how that melody is repeated in other voices. And in these other cells, I just changed the order of the notes. So you can see here, it's just, I have the lowest note, and then I went up 2 steps, and then I went up 3 steps. So in this case, I did low note, next highest note, next highest note. In some of these other cells, it does the opposite order. It starts on a low note, then it goes to the highest note and comes back down. But there's some sort of cohesion here. This is an old trick that they've been using for the past at least 50 or 60 years in movie soundtracks. And that's just a little side, but you can get in and have some fun with GarageBand doing that. And the other thing is, notice that I have a lot of automation on this track. I'm really controlling the sounds. This is one way that you can create more believable sound spaces. And then one last thing is I have added some effects on these tracks. So if you go into the track, double click on the track, and it'll pull up this, you'll see real instrument or master track. The master track we've dealt with before and gone in, and this is where you want to put your peak limiter, AU, let's see, where is it? AU peak limiter. This will keep your output from clipping. But real instrument is each individual track. And you'll notice there are actually a bunch of different blank slots where you can insert effects, sort of like Audacity, but you can always audition them in real time. And I used a pitch shifter on this one track. This is like, it's, I don't even remember what it is. Yeah, it was some weird whale sound, and I pitched it down. But I was able to automate some of the pitch shift on the track. And you can have all sorts of fun with automation here. This is above and beyond what you need to do. What I would like to see some automation of volume, and you can automate the pan as well. But in this one, I went into the actual pitch and raised and lowered it. And you can add automation for just about anything if you go to add automation. But there you have it. I have a short little slideshow there. The last step is to export it. So once you have something you're happy with, go to Share and Export Podcast to Disk. And so we'll select this and just go with the AAC encoder, the default here, and then keep it on Musical Podcast. And you might want to set your artwork to the recommended size, 300 by 300 pixels, and then hit Export. And we're just going to send this to the desktop. And let's see what it dropped in here. It's an M4A. So this isn't just an audio file. If I select the file and then hit spacebar on a Mac, it'll preview it. So just make sure that your audio is in there and that the images change at the right time too. So definitely double check your final product. Some versions of iTunes have trouble playing these podcasts, which is kind of ridiculous because it's a Mac-based product. It's actually 2 Mac-based products, GarageBand and iTunes, but for some reason they don't really talk to each other that well with these podcasts. So you can always control-click the file and then have it open with QuickTime Player instead of iTunes. This can sometimes solve the problems. And let's go back in here one last time. One thing that I think I forgot to cover is this overlapping of sounds. One mistake that I've seen students run into in the past is each individual slide has 3 sounds, as I've asked for, but they don't overlap at all. And you really do want to sort of blend sounds into one another. So fade one out as you fade another in and have them overlap. So sounds don't just live on a single slide. And this is one way to make it a more continuous viewing experience. For example, this one, I have these scuba sounds going through all 3 tracks. And that's totally fair game. I definitely recommend doing that. So then you don't have disjointed images with disjointed sounds, and have fun with it. This is actually one of the easier assignments. So do it pretty quickly. Think about the sound design. Don't get lost in music land unless you really want to. And a lot of these skills will help you on your final project when you're creating basic sound spaces. But just focus on 3 levels: what is going on in the background, what's going on in the midground, and what is the primary focus that's going on close by. Okay, good luck with it, and we'll catch you next time.